I originally had a different video planned for this week, but I'm experiencing some technical difficulties with my tablet, so here we go. Here's this thing. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. If you keep yourself updated on the community tab of this channel, there wasn't a video last week because I was having some issues with my tablet. Forever ago I wanted to get this digital speed paint out. I had to put that on hold to get the 100k celebration stuff out, and I was planning on having it out this month. And then I was having issues, so I had no idea what I wanted to do because I didn't want to just not have a video this week, so I decided to go with this. While I was trying to figure out the issues with my tablet and getting that resolved, I did have a lot of time to play Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies. My obsession knows no bounds, so here's another video about that. After playing the game and going online and exploring a variety of Ace Attorney posts, I noticed that there's some pretty split decisions about Athena, who's the character you're seeing now, and her visual design. So I thought, let me talk about that, because not only do I get a chance to just be a nerd about the things that I like, but also I think Athena is a pretty good example to use when talking about combining different elements of a character's design. So I am going to be talking about Athena and referencing her a lot, but even if you aren't a fan of the Ace Attorney franchise, hopefully you can still get something from this video. I just wanted to talk about different aspects of her design, why they are the way that they are, because there's a pretty large amount of people who think that her design is really bad, which I respectfully but strongly disagree. I think her design is wonderful, so I'm going to talk about different parts of her design, how they tie into her character, and a bunch of fun stuff like that. So even if you aren't a fan of Ace Attorney, hopefully you can take some stuff in this video about character design, maybe apply it to your own characters. If there's another character whose design you don't really like, maybe this video will help you think of that in a different light, I guess? I don't know. Truth be told, I just wanted to be a nerd, so that's what we're doing this week. Couple of disclaimers really quick. Character design is a funny thing. There's a lot of things that you need to keep in mind to make a character design work. There's a lot of, I guess, rules to character design, things you should keep in mind, but also at the same time, it's pretty subjective. So I don't want anyone to take this video as me being like, oh, you don't like her design? Well, you suck. You're wrong. If you don't like her design, that's perfectly fine. It's just literally just a personal preference type of thing. This video isn't really directed to people who don't like her design, but more of people saying that her design is bad, because I think that there is a difference between not liking something and something being objectively bad. Hi, it's me, the Oliver editing this video. As you can probably tell throughout the rest of this video, my brain was barely functioning during recording. There's some things that I could explain better. So I'm going to be popping in every now and again with a separate audio recording, so some of it sounds different, that's why. just wanted to step in real quick to say that. Another thing, I also have no issue with people like redesigning characters from franchises, like from video games and shows, whatever it is. A lot of Athena's visual design is the way that it is for specific reasons, and I think that that's something that people don't necessarily take into consideration whenever they do redesign her. They more just put down what visually they like better in a character, which there isn't anything necessarily wrong with that, but that doesn't exactly make for a better character design, because there's a lot of elements of Athena. They play into her character, or at the very least suiting to her character when you consider the different parts of her. So I think that that's something that people tend to not really think about when A, critiquing her design, and B, redesigning her. I always think it's fun to see different takes on the different characters. This video is gonna go great, I can already tell. I've seen a lot of people redesigning Athena, and a lot of them I liked. I think that they're cool. But I've seen people's opinions when it comes to them redesigning her, and I got some stuff I'd like to say about character design, because I mean, if there's two things I love, it's Ace Attorney and character design. And also, spoilers for Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. So, Athena Cykes, right? When it comes to designing characters, you always need to keep in mind a number of things, to be honest, when it comes to visualizing them. And Athena has, I guess, a lot going on. The things I'm going to be talking about are definitely things you want to keep in mind for any character, but the different aspects of Athena are very different from one another. So here's what I mean. First of all, you have to consider her profession. She is a lawyer. Then you have to consider her personality. She is a very energetic, athletic, upbeat type of person. You have to consider a character's background. Athena grew up in a space center where she grew up around robots. She didn't have a lot of people friends. And the entire, I guess, world she comes from is very like high-tech, futuristic type of stuff. And then of course her age. She's 18. Those are a lot of things that one would think they don't mesh well together. They're very opposites of each other. When you think of a sporty, athletic type of person, you don't think lawyer. And when you think lawyer, you don't really think of like space. So there's a lot of different aspects going into her design, which by the way, you can have like pretty opposite and very different elements of a character design meshed together. I personally, for one, think that Athena is a really great example of that. But for those of you who disagree, I'm going to be breaking down her design, talking about like different parts of it and how they tie into her character specifically. So let's go. But really quick, I am going to be leaving out 2 parts of her design to talk about at the end of all of this. If you're familiar with people's opinions, you already know what they are. With the things I want to say, it's easier to format it like this. Also, before I get any comments about it, another part of Athena's character is psychology. She studies analytical psychology. But honestly, even though that is a big part of her character, a lot of that isn't portrayed in her visual design, but more of her expressions, I guess, like how she expresses herself in the writing of her character. So while that is a big part of her character, it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with her visual design. So breaking this shit down, right? We should start with her profession, because the whole game is about lawyers and she's a lawyer. Since she is a lawyer, that kind of decided the whole, I guess, silhouette of her outfit. Not necessarily silhouette, but like the vibe, right? That's why she has like the tie and she has like a button-down shirt and she has a blazer and stuff. She needs to look court ready. And while there are definitely some characters within the Ace Attorney series that don't necessarily look court ready, considering that Athena is a main character, I think that that's an important part to consider in her character design. In a way, she is like one of the faces of the franchise, so she needs to be identified as a lawyer. But that's like, I think that's the thing people have the least issues with. Like, I think they understand that part. So let's move on to her personality. Throughout Dual Destinies, and I'm assuming Spirit of Justice, I haven't played that one yet, but she's very clearly like a sporty person, right? She talks a lot about working out and going out on runs. She's a very sporty person, and more generally speaking, a very energetic she does stuff type of person. You know, I'm not sure that made sense, but you know what I mean. This is another thing that I don't think people necessarily take into consideration when they do redesign her, because if you think about a more traditional looking suit, while she does look good in it, it's not something that necessarily suits her personality. I guess. She is a lawyer, so a suit was like the base for her design. But considering the type of character that she is, the way that she's always moving around, her more high energy type of person, the style of her clothing is like a middle ground of her profession and her personality, I guess. That's why they take sort of like more professional attire and make them more suited for Athena. If you are a more athletic person, you probably want clothes that's easy to move around in, something fairly comforting. I mean, I guess. Something comfortable to wear, which is why the jacket isn't like form-fitting and it's more short. That's why her sleeves are rolled up. Her shirt isn't like, it's not a button down that goes all the way up to her neck. It's pretty like not necessarily low cut, but it's not suffocating is the best way I could put it. And her personality is probably what helped define the silhouette more, and the color scheme. Yellow, I think, is a color that suits her very well. I don't think anyone's necessarily arguing against that. And her personality, honestly, is probably a big part of why the shape of her clothes are the way that they are. And then her background, right? She grew up in a space center, lots of outer spacey type of stuff and robots and bunches, yes, all of that. I guess the best way to summarize her childhood is that she didn't get much of the real world, I guess. Like that's the world that she grew up in. Super futuristic, science fiction-y, I guess. I think that background helps to solidify the color scheme. I didn't draw a full body in this video, so you don't see her shoes. I'll put up a picture of them now. That's why her shoes are the way that they are. This is also where Widget and her glove comes in. The very first moment that you see Athena in Dual Destinies, she's using Widget, which is a very high-tech thing. Widget and the glove are very much, they coexist. Like, the reason that one exists is because of the other. She uses Widget with her glove. I believe this is the first time that we see a character with such like a high-tech, futuristic looking sort of stuff, so it's, aside from having relevance to her mom, which we'll talk about in a little bit, it's something that really helps set her apart from other characters and helps to tie in her background a little bit more, so immediately you kind of get the sense that at the very least she's a little different from other characters. And then also her earring and her bangs. Her earring is just straight up a moon, and then her bangs, they resemble that sort of like crescent moon shape, and then even her mom has like sort of like a moon shape bang to her. I was reading the Dual Destinies art book, and that's something that they noted about her mom's hairstyle too, is that her bangs are more of like a full moon type shape. And aside from helping tie her in with her mom's visual design, it also kind of helps tie her in to the final case of the story. I can't remember if the astronauts in that case were going to the moon specifically, or if just generally outer space, but either way, going to outer space. And then helps tie her in to the space center because it has that outer space element. There's the whole plot around the moon rock about how that went missing, and then her earring is made of the moon rock, and as we all know, her earring was a gift from her mom, made out of moon, shaped like a moon, from a woman with moon hair. It's all coming together. It might sound a little silly when I say it out loud, but truth be told, these little moon elements help to tie her in to not only her background, but kind of the case where her character becomes a lot more relevant. It helps to make her fit right in. Last but not least, she's only 18-year-old. I've never heard of a real-world instance where there's like an 18-year-old lawyer, but I mean, I think it's safe to assume if there was an 18-year-old lawyer in the real world, would they wear like a more formal looking suit? Probably not. Of course, this is generally speaking, but generally speaking, I think younger people are more, they take a little bit more care into their appearance, and they care more about how they look more than older people. I think that her youth is something that also becomes more prominent when you compare her clothing to other characters. Like, for example, let's take Phoenix and Apollo. Well, both of their outfits are indeed very iconic. I think we can all agree that when compared to Athena, who she is as a person shines through a little bit more when compared to both of them. And even compared to other characters that you see in the courtroom, like Godot and Mia. We got Kristoff. Clavier's a little but aside from him, I think you get my point. Then we could also compare her to other people more her age. Like, let's look specifically at younger Miles Edgeworth and Franziska von Karma. Of course, the way that both of them dressed is influence of Manfred von Karma, but if you look at Miles specifically, if we compare 20-year-old Miles to both of Miles' older outfits, even though his personality does shine through all of his designs, which is something that you want with any character, we can all agree that when he was 20, the outfit that he wore to court was definitely a lot more, it was a lot more, like, loud and a lot more, extravagant, I guess? Let's go with that, for lack of a better word. And then Franziska von Kyma. Again, aside from the fashion influences from her father, I think she has another example of taking the base of a more traditional looking suit and making it more customized to her own personality. Because again, even though she would probably look good in a more traditional looking suit, it doesn't exactly suit, no pun intended, who she is as a character now. The two things that I have yet to talk about in this video. These are by far the more debated, disliked, talked about parts of her character design, let's say. Her side ponytail, the style of it, the length of it, all that jazz. And then also her skirt. Let's talk about those. Ponytail first, because I have the least amount of stuff to say about that. So I think her hair people have a lot less issues with, but that said, like, there is some debate around that. And truth be told, the main reason for her hairstyle is for the silhouette. Aside from her bangs being shaped the way that they are, the side ponytail was really just to help define her silhouette, and that's something that was prominent throughout all of her character design stuff. If you look at her concept art, the side ponytail, for the most part, is there in all of them. There's a couple where it's not there, but for the most part, it's just always been there. And I feel like this is one of the parts of her design that is like more subjective. I don't think her character design really gains or loses a whole lot by changing the length of her hair. I do think that the longer hair does make for a stronger silhouette. That's just my personal opinion. And then also I think the hair length has something to do with making her look a little bit more youthful, which obviously anybody of any age can have any hair length. It doesn't really matter. But it's not necessarily the hair length itself, I think, that makes her look youthful, but I think it's in combination of all of the other elements. I think a big part of Athena's character revolves a lot around balance, which, considering how wildly different each part of her character is from one another, it can be a pretty difficult thing to accomplish, which is why I totally understand when people say that they don't like her design. Given how different each part of her character is from one another, it can be pretty hard to find that balance. And so I think her hair length was, I think it helps make her look more her age. By the way, I think the main reason that her longer hair does help make her look a little bit younger. Even when Athena was younger, she still had like the longer side ponytail. As far as the actual side ponytail part goes, I think that hairstyle in general is something a little bit more youthful, but also since she did have longer hair as a kid, I think keeping her longer hair when she is 18 helps to make her look a little bit youthful. You can have children characters with shorter hair. It's definitely possible, and I think that honestly at this point it is just personal preference, whatever you like, but there is purpose behind why her hair is the way that it is. A big part of Athena's character is how young she is and how she became a lawyer at the age of 18. It's something that ties into her background, her goals, all of that, so I think having her look more that age, I think it's very important. You can definitely have a character have short hair and have them look their age, but I think given how the rest of her design is, I think the longer hair helps with that. I think it's also worth noting that the length of her hair comes into play whenever she emotes in the game. If you look at her different character sprites, depending on what emotion she shows, her hair does like change shape. This is something that also comes into play with Apollo's hair. The way that they look, the shape that they take, it depends on their expression. It just helps to give off the intense emotions that they're feeling, and given Athena is a very emotional character, I think having that longer hair and having it emote in a way with her, I think that also is something that went behind justifying her longer hair and why that decision was made. Let's say that she still had the side ponytail for the silhouette. I think giving her shorter hair would make that a little bit harder to accomplish. And lastly, the skirt. The most debated part. So I can't really say why the character designers of Ace Attorney decided to give her a skirt. Like, honestly, most of the things I'm talking about, I can really only speculate. But if I had to guess a reason for the skirt, Athena's origin came from retro futuristic sort of vibes. And that aesthetic often has a lot of mini skirts. That and skirts are easy to move around in. I think those are the two main reasons they decided to give her a skirt. Whenever I see a redesign of Athena, more often than not, pretty much most of the time, I dare I say all the time, people who redesign her often give her pants, occasionally shorts, but mostly pants. And before I even talk about this in detail, I firmly believe that women and men and non-binary people can and should wear whatever they want. I'm a firm believer in clothes not equaling gender. People just do what you want. I don't really get bothered when I see people drawing Athena in pants. In fact, I think a lot of the designs look nice. But the one thing that kind of bothers me about this entire discussion, I think the best way I can phrase it is the way people treat Athena's design because she's wearing a skirt. It's one thing to just like the look of pants and shorts better, and I think it's another to think that her design is inherently bad because she's wearing a skirt, or that her design will be better if she were to wear pants or shorts. And I've seen a lot of people say like, give Athena better clothes, and then they'll redesign her wearing pants, and then they'll say Athena's design is bad, and then design her wearing shorts or pants. I've even seen some people say that Capcom won't let women wear pants, which, first of all, no, that's just straight up incorrect. While I can't speak for other Capcom games, I'm not an expert in all things Capcom, it's definitely not true for the Ace Attorney series, and to prove my point, I went through all of my Ace Attorney art books. The only one I don't have is the Professor Layton crossover. It's a problem. This franchise has cost me a lot of money. I decided to look through all of them and make a list of all the women characters who are wearing pants. And to prove my point even further, I excluded women wearing uniforms, where their uniform requires them to wear pants, and I also decided to that excludes shorts. We're going full-length pants, or at least anything longer than knee length. So, without further ado, here is a list of women characters throughout the Ace Attorney franchise, including the Great Ace Attorney. My list of women who wear pants: Lotta Hart, Penny Nichols, Innie Minnie, Adrienne Andrews, Desiree Delight, don't know how to say her name, but she wears pants, Emma Skye, Olga Orly, Vera Misham, Callisto Yu, Gina, don't know how to say her last name, Courtney Sif, Maria, also don't know how to say her last name. But that's a lot of women characters wearing pants. To just say that Capcom won't let women wear pants is just incorrect. It's just straight up not true. Luckily, that's not a majority of people, but it's something that kind of bothered me because I'm all for, like, empowering women. I'm all for, like, if a company does something that's, like, wrong or sexist or anything, for sure, hold them accountable. But we also need to call it how it is. And I guess that leads me to my next point of, like, what would be gained by Athena wearing pants? Basically, I think what people are trying to get at with that whole argument is that whether it's intentional or not, the choice of giving Athena a skirt has underlying tones of sexism, which I would actually argue the opposite. A lot of people will say, like, let Athena wear pants, or like, give Athena better clothes, but then even in some of the redesigns, some of them are very minimally changed and only give her shorts or pants, and I've seen a lot of people keep everything else about her design exactly the same, and then they will just give her pants. But really, with that, my question is why? Again, if you just like the look of pants, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And even in real life, women do wear pants as, I don't want to say like a power move, but some women, they feel more power in wearing pants, which, good, more power to ya. Like I said, I'm all for whoever, whatever your gender, you wear what you want. With characters like Athena, I feel like she comes with a certain set of, not necessarily stereotypes, but I guess tropes of her character type, and I think that those set a lot of standards of what a character like her should be like. Like, if you think of her two most prominent features of her, she's a lawyer, and she's a very energetic, athletic type of person. If you think of both of those character types, if you look towards other characters in media, a lot of the time they are more masculine, or at the very least wearing pants. And so I think that that's something that a lot of people tend to apply to Athena, but really she's sort of breaking those, again, not necessarily stereotypes, but tropes for her character type, because who says that she can't catch murderers, make them have a mental breakdown in court, and also wear a skirt? Who says that she can't be athletic, enjoy working out, and also like wearing skirts? While there's nothing wrong with women wearing pants, and there's nothing wrong with women feeling power in wearing more masculine clothing like pants, I also think that there is just as much power in having characters like Athena not be afraid to express femininity. And it's in that way that I can really come to appreciate her design, because she doesn't fall into those tropes, and she does have a way of expressing herself and being true to herself while kind of breaking out of the norm of what we see for her types of characters. And I do think that having more masculine women characters and having them not be afraid to express those sides of things, I also think that Athena is a very fresh breath of air. She's very different from a lot of those characters, which is why I think I appreciate her design a lot more than other people. I think there are some people who argue that the writing of Athena is a lot weaker and that she's like not a great example of like a strong like women character, which I also disagree with, but that's a whole other discussion. Maybe I'll get around to making that video, maybe after I play Spirit of Justice, I don't know. Let me know if you're interested, maybe it'll happen, I don't know. I do think that if Athena was designed, more specifically in the West, but I guess just in general, by anybody else, I think her design would come out a lot more masculine. I think she would kind of suit a lot of people's expectations for her type of character. But that's mostly because if you look at what other people would consider to be like more stronger female characters, a lot of them are more masculine. They're a lot more tomboyish, and a lot of the women characters that people think are strong or badass or like those independent women type characters, a lot of the time they are masculine. But I think that's another reason that Athena is really important as a character, and especially expressing her femininity with things like the longer hair and the skirt. I don't know, I think that she should be able to be that type of character while also expressing her femininity, and I think that by making her into that more masculine character that people tend to redesign her as, it can kind of take away from that. And low-key kind of implies that femininity can't be powerful, which is absolutely not true. And I'm not saying that everyone who does that is intentionally implying that, and a lot of people who redesign her, I doubt that that's even a conscious thought in their head, but when you think about it, a lot of the more powerful women characters in media are more masculine, and so I think that's all the more reason why Athena should be a more feminine presenting character. But yeah, I've been rambling for way too long about this. Maybe nobody even cares. Truth be told, I needed a video for this week, so I decided let's talk about character design and her. I hope I made my points clear. I don't know, my brain's having a day, you know how it is. But I hope I was able to help break down her design a little bit. If you're someone who disliked her design and you dislike it a little bit less now, let me know. If you're someone who disliked her design and still hates it with a burning passion, let me know. Again, I think disliking something and thinking that her design is inherently bad, I think those are two different things. I can totally understand why you wouldn't like her visual design. That's totally fine. But I don't know, I just kind of got, not necessarily bothered, but I had things to say concerning people saying her design is bad, because there's a lot of thought and a lot of time and a lot of care that went into her character design, and as a character design nerd, I appreciate it a lot. But yeah, this video was a little last minute, maybe a little bit rushed, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts on the drawing, let me know your thoughts on Athena, and if you don't watch Ace Attorney, or play Ace Attorney, or read Ace Attorney, how are you? How's your day? Let me know. I'm hoping my issues with my tablet will be resolved soon, so hopefully next week we will go back to our regularly we'll be back to regular stuff. Yes, I should end this video. If you liked it, give this video a thumbs up, and if you are new here, hi, howdy, how ya doing? My name's Oliver. I post a lot of art on this channel. I talk about character design, like I did in this video, and I talk about other stuff involving art, so if that's something you're interested in, consider subscribing. And if you want to see more from me, you can follow me on social media, which will be on screen now and linked in the description box below. I post my art to Instagram, so if you're looking for more art, go follow me there. And there will also be some videos on screen now and linked in the iCard for you to check out if you want. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Hopefully. Bye.